2020 has brought great challenges in so many areas of our personal and professional lives. We know that school, as we know it, has changed, and that the classroom experience will never be the same. We have seen demands for our programs and services grow exponentially. And while on one hand, we know that some of this is due to COVID, the reality is that our ability to help all students succeed, regardless of their circumstance and environment, has never been greater. We have demonstrated that this year, in partnership with our schools, we can build school around every student. Because of our belief in serving the whole student, our recent investments in individualized instruction, assessments for learning, career pathways, and leveraging tools like AI and interoperability resulted in our educators saving time and maximizing our impact on student outcomes. But the world needs even more, and we know we can do more. To realize that impact, we need additional investment and strong financial partnerships, and I am thrilled to be sharing exciting news with you today. First, I'd like to sincerely thank our current investment partners, New Mountain Finance Corporation and BlackRock. Your support over the past several years has enabled Edmentum to deepen its focus and impact and emerge as one of the most respected and valued global digital education providers. Next, with great enthusiasm, I'd like to welcome the Vistria Group, a Chicago-based investment firm that focuses on companies in healthcare, education, and financial services industries. The Vistria Group has a long history of investing in some of the most important education companies in the world, and I am excited to announce today the Vistria Group is making a major strategic growth investment in Edmentum. This is exciting news for us. Not only will the investment enable us to powerfully execute our multi-year strategic plans, but as importantly, the Vistria Group is a purpose-driven private investment firm that seeks to marry purpose with profits. So what does this mean? It gives us even more confidence that we are exactly where we need to be and that our future is bright. The investment helps us with the next chapter in our mission to help all children succeed and ensures that we can continue to positively impact the students that we serve across the globe. So today I am thrilled to be joined with Phil Alphonse, Senior Partner of the Vistria Group, Rob Hamwee, CEO of New Mountain Finance Corporation, and Raj Vig, Managing Director at BlackRock Capital, to share more about this exciting news. Welcome. Okay, so my first question for each of you, and Raj, we'll start with you, is you could invest in anything. Why education?
Yeah, thank you, Jamie, and thank you for opportunity to speak on this. This is a bit of a personal story for me. I come from a family where education and a culture of education is paramount. My mother was a New York City public school teacher for learning disabled kids when I don't think people really knew what that was. My aunts are all teachers in California from their country of origin in India, and education's been a part of the family here for generations. And really, I think more importantly, the right for everyone to a good and high quality education. And so when you have an opportunity to pursue a personal, something of personal importance that also is a good business, a good profit, oriented business, it's hard to not be excited about that. And I think Edmentum and education technology in general encapsulate a lot of that for me. So I was just very excited to be a part of the success story here. And I think we're only just beginning. But that really is sort of sums it up from my perspective. For the opportunity to invest here.
Thank you, Raj. Phil, why focus on education?
Thanks, Jamie. So we're specialists here at Vistria by design. We exclusively focus on education and healthcare. I'd say we've got two primary reasons for us why we focus on the verticals that we do, and specifically education. We think they're really solid fundamental trends that support investing in education. It's a massive market. So if you look at the percentage of GDP, it's 8 to 10%. It's $1 trillion and a half in terms of just dollars spent in the sector. It is tremendously important to not just the US economy, but to the global economy. When you think about the tailwinds that are going to support how people are going to live and what's important to corporations going forward. So it's just, for us, when we look at it, we look out and we see tremendous both tailwinds and disruption. And that combination for us makes it really ripe as investors. The second reason is really around impact. And for us, this is as much personal as it is financial. We feel that education really drives, a key component of the larger economy. We all have and hold education as personally important, and we think that this is an area that we can move the dial, and it's an area that the private sector should be playing a role in terms of developing solutions, right, to really support what's going to happen in the larger economy.
Thank you, Phil. And over to you, Rob. Why education?
As a firm, we've always thought that education had one of the key hallmarks we look for, which is acyclicality. Whether the economy is up or down or sideways, or whether we have inflation or deflation, children always need to be educated. And given the opportunity to really add value as an educator or as a company providing services and products to educators, we do feel it's a way to leverage human capital and the fact that people really drive success in areas. It's not a commodity. It's not something where, if I have the better die and press, I can do better. It's really about people, and we really like to invest behind people and identify people who can have an impact in their field. And so the combination of acyclicality and the ability to actually have an impact as a person is really what attracts us there. And then finally, we do believe it's a real global growth market. As a couple of my colleagues had said, the need and desire for education will only grow as the world becomes more complex and more integrated. And so that's really the other reason why we feel education is a great place to put capital behind.
Phil, this next question is for you. Vistria is recognized as a global leader in private equity. You could have invested anywhere, and I've already asked you the why education. Now I'd like to ask you more specifically, why Edmentum?
I'd give you a handful of reasons. I think everyone's aware of the long history of Edmentum and Plato Learning. One of the things that we found that really matters in education is having a really strong install base. So the history of the company and the install base does matter when you think about how products are purchased. So the install base for us was a really important factor. The second is really around the product portfolio. And I think both Rob and Raj know that we've been tracking the company for a while, and we've been tracking the product developments that, Jamie, you've been leading with your team. And we really feel very excited about the direction the company's going in, and the fact that within the portfolio, you really have the right product portfolio, be it at Options or ExactPath, to address the needs that we see are going to be massive going forward. In particular, we really love the investment that's been made in the assessment space with ExactPath, and have a tremendous amount of optimism about the impact that the company can have with the product portfolio. And then the last is really team. And people matter, leadership matters. We really love the leadership that Jamie and the team bring to solving problems in the marketplace. We loved the track record and the history and the operating history that Jamie, that you bring, that Ryan brings, that Frank brings. And so, the combination of really the right team with the right product portfolio and tailwinds in the overall market, we felt was a really fantastic combination.
Raj, this next question is over to you. BlackRock evolved from a lender to a shareholder back in 2015, and for that, we are truly grateful. You have been an amazing partner. As you think about the last several years, what factors have you seen in our purpose and our performance that as we move towards our next exciting chapter?
Well, in many ways, I think Phil stole my thunder a little bit. When we moved from a lender to an owner, it's a big decision, obviously. And I think inherently part of that decision is thinking more longer term about a business, its opportunities, its viability, and its success. And, really, when we went through that process, we looked at what are the markets, are these markets that support long-term success? And certainly it's a much clearer picture now than I think even a little while ago. The product decision was important. I think you can't be everything to everyone, but you can be few things to many people successfully. And then obviously the leadership point that Phil made, I would echo. And in terms of being, socially oriented, being able to package that in a way that's measurable, that's, has ability to show improvement empirically and tangibly were all parts of an element elements that we reviewed. And I would say, in hindsight, it's easy to say it now, but even as positive as we were on each of those elements, the market, the product, and the team, I would say we were even ended up being conservative in how much opportunity there is as we look forward to provide a social impact and to have a monetary and profit impact, alongside of that. So it's just a rare combination, and it's one we're very excited about.
Phil, this question is over to you. At Vistria, you say, we believe in the pursuit of purpose alongside profit. And at Edmentum, we have a similar sentiment. We say that we like to do well by doing good. Sound like similar sentiments to me. Can you explain what it means to be purpose-driven, especially around your investments in education?
We are an impact fund, and it wasn't something that we advertised broadly. Back when we launched the firm, it's become of increasing interest today. Our view is that the variables that we track for impact aren't counter to the financial objectives that we're trying to achieve. In fact, for us, our whole thesis is that those qualitative variables that don't necessarily show up on a P&L or a balance sheet ultimately will show up on the P&L and the balance sheet, that these are really the long leading indicators that create long-standing values for the companies that we invest in. So we think product fidelity is important, and obviously your team does as well. Student outcomes is really important. So the idea that we're not just pushing content, that we're really trying to solve the achievement gap and key learning gaps, it's really important, and it really matters in this environment. And we think if we do that the right way, it's going to create long-term value for everyone over the long haul. We think things like employee engagement and how we engage with the employees of all of our companies, that those things matter, and they lead to better productivity, better insights on how the product should be delivered. We think diversity matters. And so, looking at things differently, we talk about looking deeper at Vistria and having different perspectives at the table. These are all things that matter to us, and we think ultimately add to long-term shareholder value. And so we, as part of our process, we like to track those items and encourage our management teams to keep us honest on all those variables.
Rob, this next question is for you. Similar to BlackRock, New Mountain Finance Corp evolved from a lender to a very important shareholder back in 2015. And as I shared with Raj, we're incredibly grateful. I know that you personally have also given your time to education-focused organizations, and you've served on nonprofit boards. What have you seen in our purpose and our performance that has given you confidence to continue investing in this next exciting chapter at Edmentum?
Yeah, Jamie, as you touched on, I've been over the years on a number of not-for-profit education-focused boards, and I've spent time in places like indigenous villages in rural Guatemala, and really have seen firsthand, when you give a child access to tools, whether it's as simple as a pencil and a building to actually have a school when they didn't have that, or an advanced laptop here in the US, children can do great things with tools. So when I think about Edmentum, and I think about the products that we're developing and how they serve our customers' needs, and our customers, of course, are districts and schools, but they're ultimately back to kids. The districts and the schools are just the intermediaries. And when I think about how we're able to leverage technology today, not just today, but looking forward, the goal, the concept of adaptive learning, personalized solutions, and how impactful that can be on allowing children to really reach their full potential gets me very excited. And so I think we're really just scratching the surface with that at Edmentum, and the company's ability to keep reinvesting in those solutions and deliver ever increasing performance elements will really have a meaningful impact in our market. And again, as you've all said, allow us to do well by doing good.
One of the inspirations for the foundation we started several years back called We Can Learn Foundation was some of the work that you had shared with me that you had done with building schools in Guatemala and others and those nonprofit boards that you served on. So we've been very grateful over the years to have this partnership. I'll turn to the last question for each of you. And Raj, we'll start with you. You know, as we opened the video today, I talked a bit about, you know, the work that we've done this year, the impact that we've had over the 60 years that Edmentum has been serving students and teachers. I talked about we're just getting started. We've got a real focus on the next generation of education technology tools supporting teachers and students. We think that this partnership is going to be incredibly powerful globally in terms of how we take this organization to the next level. As you think about the market, the big bets, where education is going, you know, what do you think are, you know, kind of the bigger bets over the next couple of years, or what do you see in the market over the next few years, and how do you think we're uniquely positioned to be able to capitalize on those opportunities?
Thanks, Jamie. I think it goes back a little bit to what my opening comments were. I mean, education, a good education or access to it should not be a privilege. I believe it's a right. Everyone should have a right to a good education. In many ways, it's almost, you know, in the current generation, part of the social charter. What you do with it is up to you. You know, how you decide to take advantage of that access, I think, is an individual decision. But having that access inherently, I think, is just a right. And I think as you're seeing a lot of elements of social and governance, you know, pressures, people are pushing for accessibility to quality education. It shouldn't matter where you live or you know, where you come from. But at the same time, just having the access doesn't fulfill, I think, the social pressure. Having it personalized, having it to be, you know, being able to be measurable, and also having the ability to individually target where improvements, and not every student is the same, not every teacher is the same. So I think on top of the inherent, you know, right to access, the ability to use the tools we have access to today and are developing, Edmentum as an example, for making it personable, measurable, and accountable, I think all go hand in hand. And so for me, the big bets where we are focusing tie to those assumptions, and it is tying to digital tools, but tools that are very seamless in how they interact with quality educators, because you can really, I'm biased, but I don't believe you can ever replace the quality of a good teacher, but you can make teachers better and more capable by providing them with the tools that allow them to have personalized and accessible and measurable education. And those are the bets. And I think that really summarizes what Edmentum has done exceptionally well and where they focus their investments, where they see the roadmap of their products, and under your leadership, Jamie, where they're making a very strong push into areas that have clearly resonated and only accelerated in the current environment under COVID, where you've seen leap bounds in terms of people adopting those tools and using them in a way that I think is very clear now that they can be used effectively at an individual student level. So that's really, I think, the backdrop for where we are investing, including a big investment with Edmentum.
Thanks, Raj. Rob, over to you. Where's the market going, and how are you thinking about big bets?
Yeah, I mean, the market is clearly going digital, right? The days of 20-pound textbooks and just reams of paper, are fading quickly. And so we're, and that's not just in education. That is writ large across, virtually every industry, every geography. So, we're backing folks who can really lead digital transformations. And within education, we do think Edmentum's incredibly well positioned to be, one of the leaders, if not the leader, in the digital transformation of education, which will take time and has been a long time coming, but is clearly upon us. COVID, as Raj mentioned, has accelerated that. And I think we're going to see, some real meaningful changes that in the end will only serve to benefit our, back to our customers, will benefit our customers. There is just a better way to do things. And a digital first footprint is going to be the way to make that happen. So that's really, what we're backing, and that Edmentum fits really squarely in that milieu.
Thank you, Rob. Phil, over to you.
We've got active themes in early learning, K-12 and post-secondary, as well as in the workforce. And we see massive themes really across the full continuum within education. So for K-12, I'd say that we're investing behind Edmentum for a reason, because we believe the company is playing right, or will take advantage or leverage some very key tailwinds that we're seeing in the K-12 market. Pre-COVID, there were some pretty material structural issues with our system. I think really only about 30% of our market coming out of the high school market was really prepared to do post-secondary work. It's just a staggering figure, which means that you've just got a structural issue in terms of the, both career readiness and college readiness, and whether or not kids are coming out prepared to be competitive. And that is a material problem. That was pre-COVID. Going into COVID, we know that maybe 50%, could be more, coming out of being shelter in place will be a grade or more behind. That is a massive problem. And fortunately, we believe companies like Edmentum, and Edmentum specifically, has the solution, a suite of solutions to really address these problems. So first of all, assessment solutions, being able to figure out where those gaps are is super critical when you have those kinds of structural and COVID-driven issues. So again, Exact Path, and to a certain extent, Study Island is going to play a really meaningful role in helping to identify those issues. Rob and Raj talk about a really massive opportunity around personalized learning, which is facilitated by digital and online instruction. So the ability not just to assess the students, but then to couple it with personalized learning and to have them be able to do it from anywhere is massive. It's massive, right? This is a material change around how we've educated kids in the K-12 sector. These changes were already happening before COVID, and obviously COVID has accelerated the need for these solutions to happen. So we're investing in Edmentum because we see the company really at the intersection of a lot of key trends, and we're very excited about the prospects of what's ahead of us.
We are very excited as well. Thank you to the three of you for joining me today. This is an incredible announcement today. We are so very grateful and excited to be partnering, and we appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.